Hi, I'm Lucia. The theme of this year's stewardship campaign is "Where is your heart?" I'd like to modify that a bit to say, where do you want your heart to be? For though our hearts hold our treasures, it is our mind that directs what kind of treasure we choose. Because of the economy these days, it's easy to allow the fear that's generated in the media to color our priorities. And even if we're not in a crisis, our logical minds can take over and warn us, conserve, be prudent. If we end up setting our priorities based upon fears, we end up limiting God and how He acts in both big and small ways in our life. You know, for me, tithing isn't about giving 10%. It's about relationship. Think about the closest friend you have and the times when you've most needed help. Think about how that one special person stood by you. Didn't you want to immediately thank that person and do something, even if it was modest? And when circumstances changed, didn't you want to celebrate with that one person? That is the kind of relationship the Lord wants with us. And when we can wait on Him, we discover His faithfulness to us. And then a profound sense of joy deepens, and a natural desire to give back blossoms. In those moments, God tells us to celebrate with Him, to come into the tent. And where is that tent? In Messiah. Don't believe me? Here is my story. 10 years ago, I moved to Springfield, but my church was in D.C. I grew up in it, and then I got married. And like most newlyweds, some compromises were in store. Since Raphael was an immigrant, he was eager to experience America. He wanted to try new things. So one day we decided to visit Messiah. Oh my gosh, he liked the variety of offerings. Every week it was a little different. The singing, the outreach. He especially loved the humor and wisdom in the sermons. That was it. Although I didn't understand it, I trusted that the Lord knew why He wanted me here, and began to give and started to gather my treasure. At the same time, I went through an upheaval at my work. My next job fell through. Raphael never said, "Stop giving." Instead, we both knew, like the widow, that we are instructed to give, sometimes not out of our plenty, but really out of our need. I went to visit Reverend Rowley, and he mentioned the Center for Pastoral Counseling that operates out of Messiah's Wellness Center. 3 months later, I joined their team as a counselor. Wow, that is the faithfulness of God. I'd like to think that God knows who enters His tent freely and without obligation or duty. I'd like to think that God thinks of tithing as tipping, a little tip to say thank you. So the next time you go out to dinner, or you go get the car washed, or you go to the hairdresser, how much do you tip them? 15 or 20%? And think about how much Uncle Sam takes, 30 to 40%, and yet somehow we manage to survive. God only asks us for 10%. 10%. It doesn't matter if it's in money, in services, or goods. 10%, which He uses to buy mosquito nets, or to do mission work in Mexico, or rebuild a home in New Orleans. 10% to keep the lights on in the sanctuary, or to deliver egg salad sandwiches, or give a grocery card to a family in need. 10% to keep the doors of Messiah open for all His children, young and old, at the wellness center, the preschool, the parish homes, or the church office. 10% to experience the contagious joy of the Lord. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your generosity.